Okay, boom. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be speaking about how I got on the property ladder in 8 months. Yes, you heard that right. 8 months. I'm also going to be giving you some practical tools and insights that you can use to get on the property ladder as well. But before we go into that, please support this channel by liking, subscribing, sharing with everybody you know. Like, I'm trying to make hella millions from YouTube, so help me on my mission. So I think it's important for me to give you some background. Basically, obviously, I'm black. I was born into council housing. I was raised in a single parent household for most of my upbringing. So statistically, I should have been dead, in prison, or in jail, or in some kind of gang right now. So to even get to the point where I could buy my own property is an achievement, and it's a humbling one. And I hope, you know, if Denzel can do it, then everybody can do it. You know, it's attainable for everybody. This video is purely for motivation purposes, to give you the drive and the focus and a little bit of insights that you need to get on the property ladder. So the first thing I want to speak about is motivation, because when you buy a property, it's very important that you actually have the motivation. Now, looking at the wider context, of course, we're in a country where there is way more demand for houses than there is supply. Like, if you ask anyone in the millennial generation, do you want to buy a house? There's going to be a resounding yes for most people. But see, where most people fall short is they lack the motivation, because in order to buy a house, you need to make sacrifices, you need to be persistent, and you need to be determined, and a lot of people don't necessarily want to make those sacrifices for the sake of getting on the property ladder. It's attainable, but are you motivated? Now, for me, the motivation was threefold. The first motivation for me was my peers. It's not a good motivation, but it was my motivation. And I just saw a lot of people, not a lot of people actually, there was a few people around me, especially some of my close friends, that were buying houses. And within the black community, like, buying a house is seen as like a really big aspirational thing. Actually, in the UK, it is an aspirational thing. It's seen as a thing to do to progress in life. I think there was an element of peer pressure there. You know, my peers are doing that. It's like, have they got two heads, as they say in Nigerian culture? Like, if they can do it, why can't I do it?
What on earth is wrong with me? I'm sure I have talent, but where my talent is laid.
I didn't necessarily want to do it because I had a project that I was working on. It was called Demons. It was a web series. I've been pouring a lot of money into it. That was really what I wanted to do. And as part of going on this home buying process, I had to put my passion to the side. You know, from a focus perspective, from a financial perspective, I just couldn't commit to both. So what I did is I basically decided, if I'm going to buy this house, I'm going to buy it in as quick a time as possible. Hence the 8-month period. I wanted to buy this house quickly and get back to my passion project, because it wasn't like you know, the be all and end all for me getting a property. So that was my first motivation. My second motivation was, you know, as a single person, we do whatever we can to make ourselves attractive, right? Some people go gym, some people wear makeup, some people invest in their education, their career. As a single person, you're doing whatever you can to be desirable to the opposite sex. Now, some people might respond to that challenge by leasing German cars. Some people might respond to that by buying designer clothes. But I thought, if I'm gonna do things to, you know, increase my worth, I don't want to do it in a way that's detrimental to my long-term financial well-being. You know, a German car on a lease and designer clothes may make me look attractive in the short term, but in the long term, they're going to have detrimental effects on my financial well-being. Whereas with a house, you know, a status symbol, blah, 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 it's a socially aspirational thing, but it's a win in the fact that it's also something that appreciates in value. So for me, this was like a win-win. Do you know what I mean? I increase my price and the house increases in price. That's like a bar. But yeah, I just saw it as like a win-win situation. I was investing in myself, but not compromising my future long-term financial viability. And I think this is a lesson to a lot of people. Like, I see a lot of people buy designer clothes, like lease things, rent things, go on holidays to look good in the short term. But you have to think, how does that play in line with your long-term financial aspirations? I think a lot of people want to get a house, back to my earlier point, but lack the motivation to wait and to be persistent and to make the sacrifices, and would rather go for the short-term thrills. But you have to have that patience and that sense of focus. Don't get me wrong. You know, when I was saving for my house, I was dressing bummy. Well, I felt bummy. I didn't buy new clothes. A lot of my clothes were like, you know, wearing down. They need to be replaced. But I just had this long-term focus that, look, I may feel kind of bummy right now, but it's all worth it when the house comes. Do you know what I mean? When I collect the keys to the crib. So yeah, the third motivation was an investment. You know, I saw it as a sensible investment. Again, we live in a country where there's far more demand for houses than there is supply. So you know that in the long term, your house is going to appreciate in value. I saw it as an investment in my future family. So, you know, when I do have a family, they'd have a place to stay. They'd have a sense of security. We don't have to worry about the landlord trying to kick us out or give us eviction notices or stress. You know, the kids is cool whenever they come. You know, the crib is there for them. So it was just a sensible investment in my finances and in my future. Another thing that's very important is research, mate. Research so much that you could give a YouTube video on how to buy a house. If you couldn't feel comfortable giving a 10-minute, 20-minute download to somebody on the journey to buying a property and articulate it in detail, you are not ready to buy a house, because there are so many pitfalls and unforeseen challenges with buying a home that if you do not do your research, you will quickly find yourself undone. I spent every day on news articles, looking at the economy, looking at the property market. I would check Zoopla, Rightmove. I wanted to see how much houses were in the different locations. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to know about mortgages, saving products. That's how I found out about the lifetime ISA. I researched until there was nothing you could tell me about buying a house. That's how much you need to research. And there's a lot of things I found out. One, for example, is that when you buy a flat, it's generally a leasehold property, which means that you own the building, but you don't own the land the building's on. You don't own the land that the building's on. It's crazy. But what that basically means is that you have to pay ground rent and service charges to the landowner. But also in lease agreements, there's certain stipulations. For example, a lease agreement might say that you can't have pets inside your flat, or that you can't do certain renovations to your property. And I wanted to live as close to London as possible, but when I saw that, you know, lease agreements and, you know, the finances and the legalities of it, I just thought, although I want to live closer to London, which would mean a flat, I would rather own. So I bought in Kent. For me, ownership is just much more important to me than you know, leasing. Like, I'd rather own a 6-year-old BMW than lease a brand new one. I want to own it outright. So with a house, you get them on a what you call a freehold, which means you own the building and you own the land that it's on. I can bring alligators, bears, tigers into my crib. I could do what I want. Do you know what I mean? And that's ownership. So I also don't have to pay any service charges or ground rent to any landowner. I am the landowner. You get me? So yeah, that's just what made buying a house desirable to me. A mortgage is the biggest financial decision you'll make in your life for most people. So you need to make sure that you are doing a sufficient research that justifies it. Do not put yourself at a disadvantage. Research. The next thing that I needed to do in order to get into the property ladder is have money. That's really the biggest thing. You know, the biggest hurdle that most people have is putting together that deposit, whether it's 10,000, 20,000, however many thousands it is for you to get the property. You know, it's a high deposit that's required. And I don't want to go into exact numbers as to like how much I had to save, because I feel like it's not really about the exact number. It's about the motivation. As long as you have a regular income, you can get on the property ladder, provided that you are willing to save for enough time. Just that my time frame happened to be 8 months. I wanted to get out of the way as soon as possible so that I could, you know, move on to other things. So I had to save, and I did that in a lot of ways. So basically, bear in mind, I was working on this project. I had a lot of equipment that I bought. I basically sold everything that I didn't need. I sold cameras, I sold drones, everything that I didn't need in life. Actually, I sold my iPad. I was thinking about selling my car. Basically, I sold everything. It all got thrown on eBay. That was number one. Then number two, I just started to save my income. So every time I got paid, I would save immediately. I'd pay my tithes, thank you Jesus. I would save, and the remainder I'd live off it. And I basically had a spreadsheet where I saw how much I needed to save every month in order to buy a house in that same year. I bought my house in November last year. I started the journey around April. So I had a spreadsheet that told me how much I needed to save every month. So I was religiously saving. Sometimes I was saving even more than I would last month, just so that I could make sure that I would hit my goal. Of course, it meant I had to live like a slave, but it allowed me to facilitate my goals. But you also have to ask the question, what kind of savings account? Now, for me personally, I use the lifetime ISA from Skipton Building Society. I'll attach the link to that savings product in the description. It is not to be confused with the Help to Buy ISA. The lifetime ISA allows you to save more money and do it more flexibly than the Help to Buy ISA, and it also gives you a bigger bonus. In the lifetime ISA, you can save £4,000 a year, and you don't have to do it in monthly increments like the Help to Buy ISA. You can literally in 1 month put £4,000 in the account, and the following month the government will give you an additional £1,000. So every tax year, April to April, you can save 4,000, and the government will put 1,000 in addition to that in the account. Bear in mind, I wanted to buy the house the same year, so what I did prior to April is I put £4,000 in the account. The government gave me another 1,000. Then after April I put another 1,000. Another 4,000, and the government gave me another 1,000 on top, which meant that in 1 calendar year I could save 8,000 of my own savings plus 2,000 government savings. And then for the remainder of the savings, I was very limited on options because most savings accounts have a very poor interest rate. But I put the rest of the money in an instant access savings account so that I could buy the home within the time period I wanted to. The best instant access savings account that I know at the moment is the Goldman Sachs one. I'll attach a link to that in the description. It's about 1.5% off the top of my head. It's not much, but it's better than nothing, right? Too. Yeah, so one very, very major key is the side hustle. You ought to get a side hustle. It's not compulsory, but for me to do what I did in the time frame I did would not have been possible without getting a side hustle. I looked at the numbers, I looked at the time period I wanted to do it in, and the spreadsheet was telling me, computer says no. The income that I had from my 9 to 5 was not enough, so I had to start a side hustle. Of course, I had a lot of equipment that I'd bought from Demons, and other than the equipment that I sold, I started to hire out the rest of it. So I used a platform called Fat Llama, where you can hire out your video equipment, and you can really hire out anything, but I was hiring out video equipment. And I was doing birthday photography, I was doing birthday videos, and a major source of income for me was music videos. So what had happened is I'd taken my equipment to a video shoot, the videographer didn't turn up, and the rapper says to me, can you do music videos? And there's girls in the background and stuff like that. So I was just like, yeah, like, why the hell not? And bear in mind, I didn't know the first thing about doing a music video. But the thing is, all the skills and the competencies that I developed for my passion project translated perfectly into music videos. There was a learning curve, but I built the confidence up, and I actually just started to do quite a few music videos. And that was a major source of income for me in terms of being able to, save enough to get on the property ladder. Had it not been for the side hustle, I would not have been able to accomplish my goal in the time period that I did it in. So my advice to you is that you have a skill, you have a unique talent or a gift that's God-given, and you just have to be able to, one, discover that, and two, have the confidence to sell it. One of my major obstacles in being able to make money was just a confidence issue. I just didn't have the confidence that I could actually sell my services. I had the skills, I had the know-how, but I lacked confidence. And when the opportunity presented itself, I ran with it. So my encouragement to you and my challenge is, have a think about it. What are the things you do well? What are your unique skills, competencies and talents? And have a brainstorm about how you can sell them. Having multiple sources of income is a great way to accelerate that journey of saving the deposit for your first place. The last thing I want to talk about is your credit score. Prior to buying my house, I had to make sure that my credit score was in tip-top condition. And it's almost like, to give an analogy, being a bodybuilder. You know how bodybuilders are quite bulky, and towards competition time they start to slim down, change their diet. They want to look as cut as possible for the judges on the day of competition. And buying a home is similar to that. I had a good credit score, but I had to make sure that I didn't do anything that would cause a bank to feel uncomfortable about lending the money to me. And not just lending the money to me, but lending it to me at a good interest rate. Generally, the better your credit score is, the better deals that you can get. So I needed to make sure that I wasn't doing things like applying for new credit. I stopped applying for credit cards. I'd done all the work to improve my credit score prior to going on the journey to going on the property ladder. So all I needed to do is just make sure that I didn't do anything to compromise it. So no new credit card applications, paying down my credit cards. You want to make sure that you give the bank no reason to have any questions about offering your mortgage. In my research, in which I did extensive research, I found situations where somebody got a mortgage offer, then they'd get like a couch or a sofa on finance, and the bank would withdraw the mortgage offer prior to the exchange of contracts. So just make sure that you don't do anything prior to you getting the keys to compromise your credit score. That means no new credit applications. Don't borrow excessively on your credit cards. Just cut down and look lean and nice for the bank, so that they feel comfortable giving you the mortgage. After you get the keys, you can take out a £40,000 loan if you want. You can throw it all in the fire, like the house is yours. But prior to that, you have to be on your best behavior, and that's exactly what I did. I'd recommend an app called ClearScore. I think it's on iOS and Android. It allows you to check your credit score. It gives you tips and recommendations as to how you can improve your credit score. It's a free application. I looked at it, I checked my credit score religiously just to make sure that I wasn't doing anything wrong. ClearScore will also flag if there's any changes to your credit score which impact it positively or negatively. So I would definitely recommend. Yeah, thank you for checking out this video. If you have any questions, feel free to drop a comment. I'll try my best to respond to them. If this video has been beneficial to you, just giving you the motivation and the drive to realize it's possible, it's achievable, then yeah, please give this video a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be releasing more quality content. I mean, the main thing I wanted to give you from this video is that, look, I came from circumstances where buying a house was not probable, and in spite of the challenges and the obstacles, without any support from my parents, I managed to achieve a big goal for me, which was buying a house. And it's been a big investment. So for anyone that is desirous of that, I want to tell you that you can do it. All you need is a regular income, the motivation, the drive, the research, the savings, and yeah, just make sure your credit score is in check. But be of no doubt that you can do it. Be motivated, get that tunnel vision. You need to make sacrifices. You may need to bring food to work every day. You may be able to have to say to your friends, I can't go out as often, or not go on holidays for a short period of time. But once you got the crib, you can do whatever you want. You can go to Ibiza, you can buy Balmain, Balenciaga, whatever you want to do. Just make sure you get that objective out of the way, and then the world is yours. But yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and until next time, boom.
Sometimes